This
we'll start
conference
the
will
meeting.
now be recorded.
Okay.
Oh. All right, well, I guess we'll just take a roll call for the record here. Dennis Poitras, Tony and Cherry, Ann Phillips, Sandy Lebrecq, present, and we have Jeff Goldsmith visiting, and we have Holly Hansen and Carol Olson.
Yep. Yep.
All right, has everyone had?
Dennis, thank you for the upgrade, but it's silversmith.
What did I say?
Gold.
You said gold. That is so.
I'm sorry, Jeff.
Thanks for the upgrade. I appreciate it.
Well, maybe next year. Sorry about that, Jeff.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes of last month? All right. Can we get a motion on those minutes to approve them?
Motion approved minutes from last month.
Okay.
I
all in
second it.
favor?
Okay.
Okay, second. Who seconded it? Ann?
And,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No? Okay, it's passed. All right. Director's report update.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. So, in February, the water tank, the repair was completed. The tank is back up. It's full and it's holding water and everything is working good. So that whole project is done. I'm still working on the annual recertifications. I should have all of them done by the end of March. And let's see, we had no hot water. Let's see, I guess it was last week, last Monday morning early, the boiler for the hot water heater stopped working. The technician was there. It took a couple of days to repair it. There were several parts on the boiler. And in addition to that, the tank was low on oil. And so we had to have Dime Oil come out and fill it. We have two boilers in the basement. They both have different, both of the lines going in to the tank that hook up to the boilers, they're at different levels in the tank, and the one for the hot water heater is at a higher level than the boiler for the heat, which is, I think, the number one reason why it stopped working. But we also needed to repair just a couple of small parts. The problem is that a lot of this was done as an emergency overtime, so I haven't gotten that bill yet, but unfortunately, I think that's going to be a rather larger bill, but we did get the hot water, so that's all that matters. But unexpected things like that is sometimes it's tough. But just so you know, the strategic plan committee met, and so we discussed what goals we're going to have in the plan. We have 3 main goals. I'm not going to get into details tonight about that, but we will bring it to the board for review, hopefully by May. And we're going to meet again April 6th. The committee is meeting again. That is all I have for an update. Does anybody have
any questions?
No.
Okay. All right. I guess next thing on the agenda is the February financial statement, budget report.
So let me see if I can share my screen. Oh, here. Okay, hold on 1 second. Okay, I apologize. Okay, I'm going to share my screen, and then we can go over the profit and loss first. This is for February. It is all very standard. There is nothing that is out of the ordinary. Let's see. Yeah. We had a net income of $7,000. We really didn't have a whole lot of work done. When we review the March budget, it'll look extremely different because we have a lot of bills in March that just came due. And so that is guaranteed to be a negative number. So March will be fun to go through. But this month, it's fairly easy. It's all very just monthly expenses, pretty much. So does anybody have any questions on the profit and loss?
Not me.
Okay. I'll go over to the financial report. The one I sent you is I did make one change on this. So I couldn't figure out how to highlight on it. But anyways, I circled it. The Big Y, I had a check right now to Big Y for $2,240. I ended up putting that on the credit card, and that was the gift cards to all of the residents. They each got a $70 gift card to Big Y, and that was part of the grant that I got earlier in the month, specifically for groceries and other household items for the tenants. So that I actually took out. I ended up having to use the credit card. So just so you know, you have it on your statement, but it's actually been deleted and it's on the credit card. Okay, that's the only change. You'll see we did get an oil delivery in February. It was a little over 1,000 gallons. Prior to that, they had only delivered 700 gallons. Typically, by this time of the year, we've had a delivery of 5,000 to 7,000 gallons. So we were, I would say, on the low end for deliveries this year. Now, they did just put in almost 5,000 gallons. So we should be good for the rest of this heating season, and they will probably bring some more in April to do that. But so just so you know, that was for a little over 1,000 gallons in February. This neighbors paper that we advertised in there in January for the wait list was open. So that was a monthly, I think it was in there. Yeah, the neighbors paper, I believe is a monthly paper. And then, does anybody have any other questions about the financial, the report for February?
No.
No, okay, if you look down here, on February 11th, I did deposit $25,000 of our ERAP. I put that in checking. I put the remainder $5,000 into savings. And I apologize because I did not print out savings. We do have $21,000 in our savings account right now because I did add that $5,000. So that's the ERAP. All right, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, it's pretty standard.
Yeah. I think so. To me, it looks like it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, can we have a motion to approve the monthly report and the profit and loss statement for the month?
I'll motion to approve it.
A second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, passes. All right, Jessica, do we have any correspondence? Anything going on?
We do not, no. No.
All right. Okay, I guess the big business of the meeting is the vote on the base rent increase that we talked about last month.
Mhm.
And
Now, I did have a meeting with the residents in February. February 10th, I had three different meeting times, and I had 16 tenants total attend the meeting. You know, I mean, it's there weren't that many concerns. I mean, this is, I don't want to say routine, but it's almost kind of routine. I mean, we go through this every 2 to 3 years. So many of them have been through this before. They know what to expect. You know, our main reason for increasing the rent when we do is to cover expenses, operating expenses. Next year, for example, we have an audit that's due, and that is anywhere from $6,000 to $7,000 for that, just that one audit. So we do have expenses that are continuously increasing, and while this will help, definitely, it's, you know, it's not the long-term solution that we're looking for, but this will help until we can get to a long-term solution. So, you know, the proposal is to increase it to $565. If we were to increase it to $565, that's an additional $9,600 in revenue for the year. Does anybody have any questions?
no, just a note that this gives us a $25 increase, correct?
Yes, it is $25 per month increase, correct? Yes.
Right. Whereas we've typically been a bit less than that in the past, but
Right, and I know a few of the tenants had mentioned that, you know, maybe $560, the $20 instead. You know, their reasoning was that's pretty much what they got from Social Security, you know, is a $20 increase. So, I mean, $525 is higher than we have been doing. Absolutely. I think we have done that in the past, but I think the past 2 times it's been $15 to $20. So if you're more comfortable doing $20, I did do the math on that. That is an additional $7,680 of revenue.
yeah.
Versus-
Anybody have any feelings on that?
Yes,
Who's doing this audit?
25
What's the
versus
purpose of the audit?
I'm Carol Olson, and I was thinking more on a $15 increase.
Mhm. Okay. Anthony, I'm sorry, I missed your question.
Who's doing the audit and what was the purpose of the audit?
We have an audit done. The company is called Moletta. And that's a requirement from the state. We have so it's every 2 years. What would that be? It's not biannual, it's, I don't know. But every other year we have to have an audit. It's required from the
So
state.
why are we paying for it? If the state's requiring it, the state should pay for it.
Yeah, well, no.
Because, I mean, it's just as simple. If we get to pay for it and we're picking and choosing our own company, then in lieu, you could say, well, we're hiding the money because we got this agency that's coming in to do it. I mean, if it's the state that's requiring the audit, then they should be either footing the bill or paying part of the bill, or, you know, having their people, just like we get audited by the IRS, take care of it.
I mean, I can shop around for a different account. They do increase every year, but we've used them. This will be their 5th audit. So, I mean, yeah, I don't think, I mean, it's extremely expensive.
I think though, to Anthony's question is, the state won't pay. They've never paid for
They
it.
have never paid, no.
It'd be nice if they did. They've cut back a lot of the funding that we've been receiving over the years, which helps with everything. And, you know, it's another one of those things we're kind of stuck with, unless the state comes around and changes the way they do business. And it's so. It's,
Well, and I mean, you know, it's part of the initial agreement that the town of Ashford signed, you know, or I should say the Housing Authority initially signed back in '94. I mean, the state gave us a certain amount of money, a building. These are what our responsibilities are in return, and we have to be audited. So, I mean, that's what they would say.
yeah, and the problem is that they were giving us money and now it's drying up, but we still have the responsibilities of
Yeah.
But
dealing with it.
if like this isn't the housing board and the housing authority, and this housing unit is a separate entity from the town itself. It has its own guidelines that it falls within the town. I
Mhm.
myself, owning my own small business, I have an accountant that does all my taxes and stuff like that. So they have everything that gets submitted, and as you do QuickBooks yourself.
Mhm.
But I mean, I don't know if the housing board has its own, the housing department has its own accountant that does everything up at the year end. I just don't see the purpose of spending $7,000 when it's just reviewing numbers that's
Mhm.
being submitted. And at the same time, I mean, I know if I was a business in the state saying, oh, by the way, we're going to audit you, and I'm like, oh, but I got my own accountant, he's going to take care of the audit and we'll give you the paperwork and I'll pay him. I mean, it doesn't make sense that we're paying and we're picking and choosing the own company to do an audit, to submit to the state, for the state to say the same thing as submitting taxes at the end of the year. I mean, I don't know who's doing the accounting, but what is it? Are they doing the accounting for the housing committee or the housing board unit? I mean, why isn't the person that's doing the accounting handling the audit then?
Okay, yeah, I mean, I would say they probably don't have they probably don't have the staff that could do that, you know? I mean, because you're talking about the housing, Department of Housing, correct?
Right, well, whoever's
Yeah.
handling the
Well,
accounting and submitting
yes,
all the
okay.
forms to this
Yeah.
state for taxes and
So
everything else
that's,
that you
so
hear.
that's, you know, I mean, it's both Connecticut Housing Finance and the Department of Housing. Those two are really overlap. So it would be one of those. I guess technically our agreement is with the Department of Housing. So I guess I would defer to, you know, I would say it would be Department of Housing. But I mean, that they're, you know, that's just, I don't know what to say. I mean, just the way it is.
I'm just saying, if they're accepting whatever's being submitted at the end of the year and everything's done on a Schedule C that you're doing with the complete breakdown of everything, then why is, you know, an audit every couple of years necessary when they're approving it every single year?
Right, and they are, because I do give them, I do send them the financial reports twice a year, so they do know what's going on. But again, you know, it's something we have to do. And my point of that was that, you know, maybe we'll, you know, if we increase it to 560 and we get an additional $7,680, you know, a big chunk of that you could say is going to go to the audit. That's just one item that we are required to do every other year. My point being is that the base rent increase is not sustainable for us, but in the very short term, it is something that I feel like we should do for this year. I know we chose not to do it last year, but I really feel like this year we need to do it. Now, whether you want to do 560 or 565, that's for the commissioners to decide, you know. I mean,
Any opinion on the difference between that?
I mean, I know Carol was asking for 15. I would say that if we're going to go through this, I would prefer to be higher than $15 per month. I would prefer at least at a minimum 20.
How much did we come out last year in the total profit or loss? The end of last year, how were we doing? Ballpark. You don't have to go through and look at the numbers.
Yeah, I don't have QuickBooks up. I'm sorry. I don't have my numbers. I'm sorry. Um,
Off the top of your head, were we pro or minus?
I think we were not minus. I think we were okay last year. Or if we were in the negative, it was very minimal. And I'm sorry, I just really can't think of it off the
No, that's
top.
fine.
So but I'll have those. I can get those numbers.
I would say split the difference and go with 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that
Can
would be reasonable. I agree with you, Jessica. I'm thinking back here and I know we're always on the edge,
Mm-hmm.
you know, budget
Can
wise
I,
what's
this
there.
is Holly.
And
Can I put my 2 cents in?
sure.
Again, I'm one of the, I guess, 8 or 10 people that pay base rent here that this really affects. And I've discussed it with Jessica, and I just got my recertification, and which is based on our base rent of $540 a month, whereas I actually pay $577 a month, and I can't live here unless I do pay $577 because that includes the cable that I'm required to pay.
Mm-hmm.
So in my recertification at $540 a month, she said that I would actually be qualified for about $118 if the state still had an ERAP subsidy program to help with rent.
Mm-hmm.
So considering I got the 1.3% raise this past year from Social Security, this is a huge impact, and it's a huge impact, I think, to anybody here that's paying base rent. And yet, in listening to the commission meetings, and I've listened to a few of them, back in June, I think it was June 9th, we had a commission meeting, and we had a $3,200 net income. And then on August 11th of 2020, we had a net income of $7,000. And I guess I realize sometimes things do come up, but again, to go through and have that, the comment was made by Jessica actually that during the COVID that we had some surpluses because COVID things had slowed down. So last year I thought that we would have come out okay. I realized that ERAP was very late in you know, their subsidy to us that she stated in the last commission meeting, we just got the ERAP payment that was very late in coming. So we survived, I guess, even without the ERAP. I'm not sure, I don't quite understand all that. But I guess what I'm saying is I thought we were hanging in there okay. And then ERAP came along with the 30,000 and really pushed us ahead. So now we're looking at, I guess, the 25,000 in our checking, along with 21,000 in our savings. And I guess I just want to emphasize what an impact, you know, this increase is to us, and if there's possibly any way that you can lower it. To us, you know, when you get maybe $20, when you get 15, there's some of us here, I think, because she said there's a person that pays 50% of their income here. So if you're paying that much, you're not even getting $15 a month raise in Social Security probably. And if you're lucky, you're getting $20. So I just like to have you look and reassess, I guess, the fact that you know, perhaps the ERAP was late and it wasn't looking good some days, some months. But I thought overall that things, you know, the net income was looking okay, and I thought maybe that was adding up over the months in the course of the COVID year, so that we'd be in a decent position at this time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all. I like I said, anything $15, $5 a month to us and $10 a month, it really means a lot. If you get a 2.5%, raise, it's a lot different than a 1.3% raise. There's just not that much more to go around at the lower end.
Well, I think we have discussed that very issue every time we go through this process of increasing the rent or not increasing the rent. And that's why we didn't do it last year. Because we understand, we very much appreciate how tight many people are on their payments. And, it's a concern to us, certainly. Unfortunately, we're in the big cycle of this place starting to get older, and lots of large bills are coming up that have to be taken care of. And, so what looks good today as far as the bank book, in 2 months could be wiped out. And it's just the nature of what it is. And we don't have the outside support financially to deal with these things. And so that's sort of where we're coming from. We're trying to, Jessica's doing the best job she can with what she's got to deal with. But, this is, when this place was brand new, it was totally different. Now everything, there's a lot of things on a continuing basis that need to be fixed or need to be upgraded or taken care of. And the big issue we have is money. We have our sources with the state of Connecticut right now are not much. Where one of the things we are trying to do is look for other sources of income, grant monies, and other things to help pick up the slack lost. And it's a very difficult thing, and that's one reason we're having these meetings once a month with the committee to try to look for these. Part of what we're trying to do. So it's a hard thing, and we don't raise the rent lightly, but I think we have to do it. We can't not raise it, and the question is, how much and whatever. If we raise it a lesser amount or more, maybe we don't have to do it next year. But we kind of revalue this every year. We look at this every year and see where we're going. And so unfortunately, I think we do need to raise it. And I guess the question is for the commissioners, what is everybody comfortable with?
Well, the raise at $20 is 0.38%. But like myself, I got to work in Boston every day with the gas prices being increased of over 30%. I mean, I'm paying an extra $181.86 a month average just in this last month and traveling to Boston just to work. That's coming out of my pay. That's a serious hit. But, construction prices of construction of lumber has gone up over 70%. So in factoring that there was no increase last year, and I understand more than anything else, like I said, this is money that I'm paying out, this almost $200 a month for gas increases just to work that I'm not being recouped. But to have, less than 4%, you divide it over each year, that's less than 2% of an increase between last year not being done. I think $20 is more than fair, to the increase. And it's not me being hard on anything. It's just COVID. Luckily, the housing hasn't got hit, but everybody else out there in my industry has gotten brutalized. Like I said, price of lumber is up 70% in 1 year. So
I think everything out there, cost of doing business is more because of it.
Right. But I can't charge my clients the extra, okay, I got to go out to Boston to work today. And I can't charge them to get, I have to eat it, So it's taken out of my pocket and across the board, but gas prices is just one small figure of doing that.
Any other comments from members on that?
No.
Okay, shall we take a vote then? Are people in consensus that $20 a month is a reasonable compromise? If so, can I have a motion on that?
I motion for the $20.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, I guess we have it, then that's what we're gonna have to do this year. All right.
And I'm just gonna say too, that at the end of every year, we're either negative or we're barely above. And our reserves we may have $21,000 in it, but that is nowhere near what we really should have in reserves. If something major happens in that building, mechanical or otherwise, we will be getting loans. We will have to, we're not in a very good state. We're not in a stable situation, okay, at all. And again, this is just going to help us stay afloat, stay the way we are, barely making it through, but able to do that. That's not really putting anything in reserves. I put $5,000 in there. I was supposed to put, way more than that in there. But so, I'm just saying, I know how hard it is for these tenants, and especially for the one person who's now going to be paying over 50% of her rent, which is completely unacceptable. But we also want to be operating, and we also want to maintain the level of maintenance and how we're taking care of that building, the programs that we're doing. We're trying to get better, or trying to find new ways to increase revenue, and all of that does take a lot of time, getting new grants, stuff like that. So I'm just saying, I know it is, but I think the payoff is, trade-off, whatever, however you want to say it, it is absolutely necessary. I would not do it unless we had to, because I didn't really want to do it last year. I don't really want to do it this year, but we can't keep going without it at this point. Okay. So, I do understand that. I am very well aware of the hardship. Okay, that's it. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Okay. Anyone else have any more comments out there from the public?
No, not for me.
No.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess that was our major issue up was the rent on this month. Okay. And we have a guest, Jeff.
Yes. Is this
How you
public comment
doing?
time? Good,
Yeah.
good.
Oh,
I
your
didn't mean
comment, yeah.
I didn't mean to surprise you by coming on here, Dennis. It's just I realized you had a meeting, and I know we had a meeting last night with Planning and Zoning. Hello, everyone. My name is Jeff Silversmith. I am the chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission for here in Ashford. And I don't know if Dennis has had the opportunity to share this with you. We've had a couple of discussions, but there is I'll call it an initiative. It's actually legislation that's being proposed regarding affordable housing in Connecticut. A coalition that is formed is called Desegregate Connecticut. They are not the official group, but they are a coalition of 31 or 32 different groups. NECOG, our regulatory district group, is also part of this coalition. And again, what they're looking for is affordable housing in all areas in the state. Desegregate Connecticut has recognized that there are certain areas in the state that make it very difficult for affordable housing to go into place. Previously, you may have heard of it as low-income housing, but it's really affordable housing. It has a certain formula for those people that qualify and want to basically, if you're working, you want to work and live in the area that you are working at, or at least close by. If you are elderly and maintaining your home, your large home, is difficult to do, but you'd like to stay in the area, in the town that you grew up in or have lived in for years, having the ability to gain affordable housing that meets limited incomes can be important. Also for young people, we know the cost of housing is pretty much exponential in its growth as compared to incomes. When we were 18, 19, 20, 25 years old and trying to live somewhere, it was surprisingly, we wouldn't think back then, but it was easier back then to gain a home in most areas we lived and grew up in, as opposed to what it is now. So again, these initiatives require that there was a piece of legislation that came through back in 2017, and it had a 5-year requirement for each municipality to either have developed and put in place or developed by July of 2022 a plan of affordable housing. Now, this plan doesn't mean you have to put in affordable housing. It simply means your plan must show movement forward for affordable housing, where you are not having your regulations be restrictive from affordable housing, that you have possibly the availability of putting in affordable housing or identifying your current level of affordable housing. There is a state, I guess it's a statute as opposed to a rule, of if you have at least 10% of your housing stock as affordable housing, then the requirements of the 8-30 Connecticut State Statute for affordable housing, you don't need to have a plan in place. You're basically already planning and doing what they're hoping for. I can tell you right now, Ashford, as per our zoning enforcement officer, is about 3.5%. We're not the lowest in the area, but we're by no means the highest in the area also for our surrounding towns. So again, I am making you aware of this because in talking with Dennis, we'd like to put a task force together that includes planning and zoning, who is kind of taking the reins on this to move forward. We'd love representation from the Housing Authority. We're talking to the Board of Selectmen also to give some future look on this. Also, economic development and looking at what this might lead to for Ashford. Again, we have 1 year. We've also contracted with the current trying to think of the word I want to use here. The group we currently have a contract with for doing our zoning enforcement officer, and that company, we've contracted with them for writing the plan. So we've got a scribe, we've got some great background and references with these folks that do zoning all over the state and are actually working with a number of towns. We're working with NECOG also because they're looking to develop some type of a district plan, which might turn into a plug and play where we can simply take their information and put in those items that are specific to Ashford so that we have this plan put together. There is no current stick, if you will. There's no punitive damage if you don't have it together, similar to a POCD, which if we didn't have our plan of conservation and development put together and updated as appropriate, then there's potential loss of grants, state grants and things like that. As of yet, I'll leave it at that. They haven't put anything punitive on this for not being compliant, but the hope is that all towns will be compliant. Again, in talking with the consulting group that was going to help write this for us, it doesn't need to be, it doesn't need to be the 90 some odd pages that are the plan of conservation and development. Simply, we're looking for somewhere in the range of 10 to 15 pages of material that is effective for Ashford. So I just wanted to introduce this. If you heard some things about it out there, I would suggest you can go to desegregate.connecticut.org when it talks about some of their initiatives and the things they're looking to do. One of their plans is they'd like to have certification and training of zoning board members in each town, so that our terms right now are for 6 years, and it would be great to get more than just the bare bones training we get once a year at a training session in March at one of the colleges through some of the land use lawyers. It would be a certification, not a difficult one, but certification so that everyone is dealing kind of at the same level and is familiar with the information. That just happens to be one of the initiatives of Desegregate Connecticut. Are there At this point, since I've been jabbering on and on, are there any questions or anything from anyone?
Yes, I have quite a few questions.
Sure. I'll do my best.
How many homes are in Ashford right now?
There are approximately, I'm trying to think what he gave me. I'm talking about 2,000, 1,900,
Okay.
something like
So
that.
you got around 2,000, you have over 10% of the homes in Ashford right now with crumbling foundations that we cannot get help with. Basic response from Jeff Tager is.
I'm sorry. You said we can't get help with, but there are initiatives in the legislature for helping with crumbling foundations.
Yeah, we've been fighting for over a year, and we've reached out, and the response that we just got from Jeff Tager was, well, you're 303 on a list of X amount of hundreds of people, so your SOL was his response. There is no funding, there is nothing. So before we start, you say bringing in diverse, affordable housing, you have over 10% of Ashford with homes that are worthless and that are falling apart that can't get any help because there is no funding in place anymore. So how about keeping 10% of the population living in their homes by getting their homes fixed so they can stay in Ashford, Connecticut and keep the homes that they have? Because otherwise, if you're going to bring in X amount of affordable housing and you're going to lose over 10% of the population that's already been here because their houses are worthless and can't get the help, it kind of seems backwards to me.
Well, I appreciate your input on that. And yeah, I am well aware of the crumbling foundation issue. It is two separate issues because with the efforts for affordable housing, what they're really looking at, one of the things that the planning and zoning is looking to do is put together a letter to the state, and just, it's not so much saying we're not going to do a plan, but we need to put something together, but we do want to maintain zoning regulation here in the town and the municipality, not being done by the state. The other thing is that some of the overall far-reaching things that they're looking to put out is really pounding a round peg into a square hole. What goes on in Ashford or needed in Ashford for affordable housing is not what's needed in Stamford. Or let me put it better this way. What's needed in Stamford or West Hartford or East Hartford is not what's needed in Ashford. I'm a very strong proponent that it's not housing that brings people in, it's jobs. And as Dick Williams put it the other day, we're kind of a bedroom community. We don't work in the same town. We go to different towns to go to work. Ashford doesn't have a huge, complex workforce that it deals with that makes jobs available to people. So we're hoping that as they go through this legislation, that they look at what is really needed in a town, and that, again, housing and affordable housing is an offshoot of economic development and growth in a town, as opposed to the driving factor.
What is the fixed price of, what do you consider an affordable house? Are you a house at $250,000, 250,000, 300,000, 175,000? Because, for 175,000 to get a foundation redone on a house, I can tear this house down and build a house for $225,000. Okay, so what is the number that you're looking at as an affordable to income ratio? But at the same time, if you're going to lose over 10% of the population of homes in the town, this makes you got over 300 homes that are worthless in the town that's existing. It's over 10%. That's unacceptable. So how can you get people to move into the town where you can't even get houses fixed? They're going to be abandoned and sit there as ghost slabs, because the houses are crumbling. It's going to make the town look like a desolate ghost town with a bunch of abandoned shacks that have crumbled on top themselves. So it kind of negates the point of affordable housing when you got a ghost town. Who wants to move to a ghost town? You got to fix a problem first before you can bring in more.
We can go round and round with this. I do understand the issue, again, with the crumbling foundations and what its effect could be on the character and the nature of a town. But again, it isn't the housing that brings people here. It would be a matter of jobs and things like that. When it comes to the affordable housing, though, what you really have to look at is that they're not talking about the value of a home as they are. Affordable housing is based on a formula of 30% of housing expenditure off of 80%, if someone is making 80% or less of the median income for that area. So that's kind of what they're talking about. Another section they're talking about is affordable dwelling units. Accessory dwelling units, ADWs, which would be kind of like a studio or efficiency apartments and things like this that, again, an elderly couple or person could move into that is very simple for them to take care of and allows them to stay in town. These accessory dwelling units are units that have maybe 2, 3, no more than 4 units in them, and they're able to exist not with a sewer system, but an efficient septic system that is able to take care of that number of units. So the cost of a sewerage system and things like this for a town are not there. We're not talking huge apartment complexes or things like that. What we're talking about is the availability for people to stay in areas that they can afford and have lived in previously. So again, it really isn't so much purchasing or developing homes that are 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. It's giving people the ability to stay in place, work in place, or begin in place, if you will, if you're at the beginning of your life and career, your professional life and career.
But as you said, that the businesses in Ashford is not a business town, and you can go by and see by the amount of businesses that have been closed or vacant, like the restaurant that was over there on the way to the town dump, as well as numerous other businesses that aren't here. Well, part of the problem is that you have to have homes for people to live in. If you're losing 10% of the population because of homes that are no good, regardless of bringing in 4 unit, 6 unit, 8 unit affordable housing, again, that's not solving the issue that you said in the beginning, is where Ashford doesn't have a business organization, a business plan. It doesn't have a workforce. Everybody is leaving. So you're just bringing in more people to stay in multi-unit things without addressing a larger problem first. My motto is military is fix the problem first before you start expanding on. And I understand it's 2 separate issues, but at being on the boards that you sit on, to lose, and as Jeff Tager says, his words, quote unquote, your SOL, that's unacceptable.
No, that's a
Tager
frustrating
sits at the
statement
head.
from anyone, obviously.
Yeah.
All right,
So
I've got 2 questions.
sure.
Can
Sure, go
anybody
ahead.
hear me?
Yep.
All right, that's not the first question. Okay, Jeff, first question would be, is this one of those state mandates that doesn't come with any money and it's just up to the town to come up with money to make this happen?
Well, they did have some grants that were out there. We were late to the party. Again, this has been out there for 5 years and really didn't start to boil up until Desegregated Connecticut got behind it. And we're in the last year of the first 5-year implementation. So that's why there's kind of a push to get this done. Similar, again, to updating our plan of conservation and development. Every 5 years, you're supposed to do, every 10 years, you're supposed to do an update on the POCD. On this, it's 5 years. We're coming to the end of it. They did have grants out there for some of the towns that were able to take advantage of this and to use those grants for not so much implementation of affordable housing as to putting the plan together. Again, a larger town of even 8 or 10,000 people would require some engineering information, marketing access, or marketing evaluation of what we have for stock and things like this. We were lucky to be able to budget for this. We're trying to come in as short as possible on a budget just to put the plan in place. But again, we are not building affordable housing. We are looking for ways of identifying what we have to increase our percentage, as well as, if there are ways to find grants and things like this. if we have this is just spitballing. This is nothing that's written in stone. Nothing's been put down on paper. But if we need to address expanding our elderly housing right now, if we have any viable opportunity for that, that would be very helpful. And again, it'd be a matter of bonding and grants and things like that to try and get that to take place. So, but we appreciate all input. That's why I wanted to make this not a planning and zoning initiative, but a task force initiative for the town with the various groups that have a stake in it, including the Housing Authority, as I said, economic development, planning and zoning, the first selectman's office. So
my second question would be,
yes.
does this allow for the fact that our housing prices are driven by Yukon? We do bring people into town. If we have more affordable housing, we're going to get more people coming in from out of town, which really doesn't help the people who already live in town.
Well, if they're coming in and I guess the thing is, where are they coming from? Are you saying they're coming from Yukon?
Yeah, that's a lot of what drives our housing prices up. I mean, you try to get an apartment around here, and they're competing with the apartments over at Yukon, which are $1,000, $1,200 a month.
Well, part of the charges for apartments, I mean, that's one thing that comes up. People say there are a lot of apartments in Ashford in this case, you went higher, but many times a lower level than, say, Hartford or East Hartford or something like that, a cost. The issue is that they need to be deed restricted, and being deed restricted simply means that, again, for the next 30 years, there can't be large increases in that dwelling. And those deed restrictions, again, it's very hard for a for-profit person that owns an apartment building to put deed restrictions on something like that. In some cases there are. You've heard of rent control in New York and things like in other large cities and such. But it does need to be either deed restricted, federally backed, FHA, USDA, these groups. So the general calculation, as I said earlier, of affordable housing has to do with the median income as opposed to the market value of houses in that area. It's really the median income, 80% of that, and that you're not spending more than 30% of that income on housing needs. Again, about 28% of our renters and 38% of our homeowners are, I'm trying to think of the term.
Cost burden.
Cost burden. Thank you very much. Exactly. And, those are some significant percentages. And, these would be qualifying people because they don't have disposable income. So again, even if you have a thriving economy, those people are not the ones spending in restaurants, spending on dry cleaning and other items that are not a necessity for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I would really like to join the coalition. I'm Jessica Miller, the director, and I'm very interested in that. I'm interested in seeing how you would ensure that the accessory dwelling units would remain affordable housing. I think that might be tricky.
Again, I appreciate that. Again, right now we're not building anything. Okay, we're not putting plans or anything like that. We're simply trying to put a plan in place. Right now, my goal is simply this: is to try to make and this is really an early goal of Desegregated Connecticut, is to make our regulations for zoning, as my part of this, non-restrictive. That they're not prohibitive of someone. I mean, there's some requirements of the legislation that's being proposed is that I'll use Disney in a fast pass type of thing, where if you are putting in an accessory dwelling unit or you are allowing for accessory dwelling units and a developer wants to come in, then they are not bound by having to go through special permitting or having to go through zoning board of appeals or anything, that you allow for this to happen if they've met all your requirements as affordable housing. Okay, so that's our early goal on this. And if we get a
Right.
plan in place, they do look for how you can gain. I can't remember what the percentage is, how you can potentially gain and improve that moving forward. The 3.5% we're currently at. No one's expecting us to jump up to 10% in 2023. Maybe, best of intentions and working with some groups that show forward progress.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so Jeff, I mean, sort of the upshot of, not all of it, but is changing regulations such to make it more easy to
Developer friendly.
make for a developer to go in and create dwelling units and on an affordable housing scale. So whether certain codes get relaxed or changed, it will allow that to happen. So we're really talking about either new builds or going in forward in the future and how people will be able to do that in compliance with these new regulations, or do it in such a way that their hands are not tied as much as they were in the past.
Right. And again, our efforts are simply to be not restrictive, not prohibitive.
Okay.
You can call it making it easier, or you can call it that we're not stopping them. But probably the forward way thinking is what you said, to make them so that they meet certain requirements that allow them to move forward, having met those requirements.
Well, to me, the way seems pretty paved, because I'm a partially disabled veteran that has to work 70 hours a week traveling to Boston to maintain a household that I bought through the VA because this was what the VA said I could afford. Okay. But now I have a worthless home that I can't get help on, that I've been trying to get help on for over a year. And where you have over 300 homes that are going to be condemned in the town, which is over 10% of the town's homes. Okay. Well, at that point, it becomes the way is paved for these developers come in, because they can come in and scoop these homes up for pennies on a dollar, bowl them over, and then build a 4-unit or a 6 or 10 unit to make affordable housing. And because they're developers, and be able to do this and give the town what it wants. Okay, you got the affordable housing, but at what risk? You have somebody that, like myself and over 300 other people in this town, that are going to have potential lots for all these developers to buy because they can't get the help, because you got people like Jeff Tager, whose heads and sits on this, that you can get only answers that say you're SOL. So, I mean, to me, you're paving the way by not taking care of the people existing, because all these properties can be bought pennies at a dollar by developers in the future, and they'll be able to put in affordable housing. Whereas, again, to me, this is my affordable housing that I have to work almost 70 hours a week to maintain as a partially disabled veteran, because this is what the VA dictated I could afford. It's not a multi-million-dollar home, and I'm paying taxes in the town, and I can't get help. Besides, you're SOL. That's the response. That's unacceptable. And that's my last rant for the night.
Thank you. Any other questions from the commission? I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Again, we're in the very fledgling stages of this. We actually don't even start our true contract with the consulting group until the new fiscal year with July 1. However, we are trying to get our ducks in a row, get on board with this, finding out, doing things like, again, looking at our market assessment, what we have for housing and things like this. And again, getting better definitions. They're actually just released a legislation piece that's 25 pages of tweaking a number of the definitions and such when it comes to affordable housing. So more to come on this. I appreciate your time. Dennis, Jessica, we'll talk more on this, obviously. And again, thank you for allowing me to speak.
Okay, Jeff. Take care.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. All right.
All righty. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, folks, that's it for tonight. I guess we'll